Of all the possible problems that you may have in your golf swing, the one that every single golfer wants to avoid is a case of the dreaded shanks. Hitting the ball from the hosel creates nothing but misery among golfers of all abilities, and it can happen to anybody. This video is going to tackle the causes of shanks. There are multiple ones. Try to help you identify where you're having the problem and then show you how to train to fix this dreaded shanking once and for all. So shanking, just very quickly, as I mentioned, is when the ball is struck from the heel or the hosel of the golf club, meaning the club would come down and strike the ball more or less in this position like so. So in this condition here, the golf club has come back to the golf ball further away from the golfer than when they set up, meaning if you set up to the ball in a normal neutral position with the golf ball in the center of the club face, you're not bringing the club back in the same way. For some reason, the club is getting further away from you during the swing, so that by the time you deliver the golf club to the ball, you're presenting the hosel of the golf club rather than the club face. That's a brief description of what's happening when you shank. Let's now discuss why that would happen and the things that you can do to stop it. In my experience, I would say there are typically two main types of shank. There's two main reasons for shanking, and I'll deal with both of those today. The first one would likely be the more common one, where a golfer, for whatever reason, is swinging so far out to in their downswing, throwing the club head and with it the hand path farther away from them in the downswing than when they started, that the club's journey to the ball is so far from outside of the golf ball that they're left with no option other than to hit the shaft or the hosel of the golf club. Now, why would a golfer swing over and across so much is a slightly different question, but a very important one for us to consider. And in my experience, for the most part, it's to try to mitigate a club face that is excessively open. Let me show you what I mean. If I was to place this magnetic rod on the club face to give you some visual guidance for where the club face is pointing at any point in time during the swing, I could go up and set up to the ball in a very neutral fashion with that rod pointing towards my target. But if I swung back and for whatever reasons used my wrist angles incorrectly, started to twist my wrists in a way that would open the club face, I've now got a huge problem, because this open club face is not going to be functional if I swing back to the ball on a neutral swing path. You'll see how that would present a very open club face, hit the ball wildly to the right. Golfers don't necessarily know that they're making this error, but their brain is clever enough or has seen enough shots go to the right that it knows it needs to do something about it. And that something about it would be to throw the hand path and the club path out so that we have some time and some chance to work on squaring this excessively open club face. Hugely open club face requires a swing direction that works more and more across the ball. That can, to some extent, fix the club face, potentially on certain occasions. I've seen that happen. But once you're swinging so far across the golf ball, you have every chance to hit the hosel, shank it. It's very difficult, even for a skilled golfer, to make that alignment work. So if you're someone who shanks because you're too far out to in and across the ball, you're probably opening the club face too much at some point during the swing. The HackMotion wrist sensor there picked up very clearly how I was too extended both at the top of the swing and also at impact. That extension in the wrist is directly linked to the open club face, and as mentioned, the open club face is directly linked to swinging excessively across the ball. So if you're an out to in shanker, you need to work on this drill to fix that problem. Quick question for you. Did you know that 80% of your golf ball's direction comes from the club face angle at impact? And it's your wrists that control that angle. If you want to hit straighter shots and add more distance to your game, then check out the link in the description below. Grab a head cover or something soft from your golf bag. It could be your golf towel, and place it on the ground just outside of the golf ball like so. So you'll see from this down the line view, I've positioned the head cover in such a way that it's close enough to this club that I'm able to make a correct travel and journey of this club head on the backswing without disturbing the head cover. But if I was to swing down in such a way that I was coming out and across the ball, I'm certainly going to get the feedback of hitting the head cover. So the head cover or the towel that's on the ground is there as an obstacle for you to miss. From the front view, you'll just notice the orientation of this relative to the ball. It's on the back side. It's trying to protect the entry point here of the club head into the ball. So we don't want to put it too far forward, because we could still have the club coming out and across the ball, and we wouldn't get the feedback of hitting the head cover. So quite a specific point and position to have your object on the ground. Once you've got it aligned, your job would be to swing back, down and through without touching it. So you'd want to come back, miss the head cover, and as you come down, you'd want to start training the hands and the club to come back to the ball from a more neutral swing path than before. I'll see this exercise help students pretty quickly. That shot flew nice and straight. I hit it more in the center of the club face. It certainly wasn't the best shot I've ever hit, but it was a damn sight better than the first attempt. Just having something on the ground like this can help to organize a golfer's visual perspective of the swing and how the hands and the club need to move around you. If you have the ball too far away from your object on the ground, it's not going to be helping. You could still make the error or the bad swing, and you wouldn't get the feedback here of the head cover. So make sure this is positioned close enough to your object that you're just going to miss it on both the backswing and also in the downswing. For most of you, this will really help, and I would encourage you to use this exercise every time you practice. Just have it down on the ground when you're at the driving range. Start to see the swing direction change, start to see the shot shape improve, and ultimately start to see the location of your strike get better as well. You can also cause a shank shot by swinging too much from the inside, the opposite problem to the one that I've just spent a few minutes explaining. Having the club head and the sweet spot working too much in and around a golfer means that the only option for this club when it gets so flat and so low behind the golfer is to swing towards the ball with such a rightward swing direction that presenting the hosel or the shank to the golf ball is almost the only option left available to the golfer. So that would be someone who may have an excessively low hand path around them. It would also be described in some quarters as a backswing that's too flat. And as they approach the ball, as I've already mentioned, the hands and with it the club head are swinging too far to the right. That usually results in hitting off the heel. That was a horrible strike, a horrible shot. The ball's barely flown any distance at all. In this example, once again, you can use a modification of that head cover drill to help ensure that you're moving the sweet spot of this golf club and with it the hands around you on the correct arc. Let me explain how that would work. So as I set up this drill, it may not surprise you to see the head cover is now on the opposite side of the ball. I've placed the object or the obstacle on the inside of the golf ball for the exact same reasons that I placed it on the outside of the golf ball before. This is an obstacle or a barrier that we're trying to avoid as we swing. If I was to set up to this ball with the head cover to the inside of the ball and I took the club back too aggressively on the inside, or at the same time perhaps I swung down too much from the inside, I'm again going to get the feedback of hitting the object, and that's a negative feedback reaction. I don't want to hit the obstacle. So just having something on the ground positioned just inside the ball here so that the head cover's sitting a centimetre or two underneath the shaft of the golf club gives me enough room to move this club back up and around me in the correct fashion, but also back down to the ball in a more neutral path as well. Essentially what this video is trying to help you to see and then help you to train is a more neutral club path. A swing direction that's much closer to neutral is going to help the travel of this club head and the sweet spot of this club around your body and allow for more accurate, more functional and more repetitive centered contact. Avoiding the shank really is about avoiding excessively out to in or excessively in to out swing paths. So the head cover is going to do its work. I'm going to set up to the ball, take my normal setup. Now try to feel like that club head stays above the head cover when I go ahead and hit this shot. That was nicely done. Obviously the feedback's good. I didn't hit the head cover. Club face may have been a tiny bit closed, that ball drew just a little bit too much, but my delivery of the club into the ball was better. The strike was in the center of the club face, and really for those of you shanking, it's that error that you want to fix as quickly as possible. So when it comes to training the shank out of your game, understanding how your wrists work is a critical element to it. The HackMotion wrist sensor will help you to see if you have too much twisting or extension or flexion, meaning opening or closing of the club face, that could be the root cause of your shanking problem. If you want to fix your shanking problem, put an obstacle in the way of your club head. Identify whether you're shanking because you're swinging too much from out to in, or whether you're shanking because you're swinging too much from in to out. Once you've identified that, place your object on the ground as I demonstrated in the appropriate spot, and practice with that object on the ground for the entirety of your practice session. I would tell you that you'll likely see the golf ball strike the center of the face once again, almost immediately. That sensation of hitting the club face and getting rid of those horrible shanks will be something that happens quite quickly. Continue to train with the obstacle while you have the problem, and use this as a go-to drill every time the dreaded shanks creeps back into your game. I hope you found the video useful. This is a practical drill that you can take to the driving range the very next time you go. If you'd like to learn more about HackMotion and the wrist training videos that I've made for HackMotion, you can click on the link in the description of this video. It will take you to further wrist training videos that you can enjoy.